Hello, this is Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. This is the Sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky. In the weather, northern lights say hello to the U.S. tonight, starting in Maine. Today, here in Lexington, there'll be times of sun and clouds, high in the low 90s and lows in the low 70s. Some storms tonight may be severe. The past couple of days we have had bursts of storm activity, and storms are possible this evening. And chances increase for tropical development. Humidity will be high and make it feel like the temperature is at 100 degrees. There have not been any severe weather warnings issued by the Weather Bureau in this area, but it has been muggy. It has been hot. Sunrise today was at 6:40 a.m. Sunset will be at 8:47 p.m. The wind is about 4 miles per hour, and the AQI is good, currently at 32. Pollen is moderate, and the temperature currently is 69 and feels like 69. As I said, this is a Sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky. And if you're watching the Sideshow on Facebook and Instagram, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Talk about it on WhatsApp. If you're watching the Sideshow on YouTube, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And the Sideshow coffee cup, black 11-ounce ceramic, dishwasher safe, good for all beverages hot and cold, with the Sideshow logo on it. Buy from me for $17 plus shipping and handling, and that is worldwide. Pay me through Cash App, $TR Parker 1. So in the news, we're just in the middle of the week, a few days away from last weekend, the last weekend of July. This is the last day of July 2024. So I will just handle a few things that I wanted to talk to you about. And starting with, in the news, 2 dead, 20 injured after Israel targets senior Hezbollah commander in Beirut strike. And this is coming via ABC News. Kind of like before I get into this, I just kind of like wanted to make a comment. Every time I hear discussion or see something in the news about Israel and Hamas, and Hezbollah is like the commanding unit in charge of Hamas, I revert back to how all this particular phrase of the war began. You know, the fact that Israeli police had to clear protesters out of the mosque when Israelis were allowed to tour it to the number of 400. And all they used were rubber bullets and tear gas. And moving 400 people to me is no small task. 50 people were injured. And months later, in October, which would have happened at around our Easter time, for those of us that live in the United States, Hamas commits a strike or an attack on Israel at a concert of young people, explanation being under the age of 30, kills 1,200, takes 243 hostage. Out of those 243 hostage, kills 100 of them, which leaves 143 hostage, and subsequently, intermediately, starts killing them. And since then, Israel has been responding in fashion to strikes by Hamas, and sometimes also including Syria, and now includes Iran. So the phrase that comes to mind from the initial incident is that, don't take kindness for weakness. Now, this particular incident comes off of an Hamas Ebola strike at an event in Israel where adults and children were present, and young people, teenagers and younger, 12, were killed. And when I think about, teenage years, let's just say since the pandemic with COVID-19 started to where we are right now, we've been away from the pandemic for about a year, May made a year. Teenagers or young people that were not teenagers have become teenagers. Teenagers, some of them have become eligible to have a learner's permit to learn how to drive. Others have reached the age to vote, all in that short span of a few years. So, in return, when this happened, Israel made a strike in Beirut, but the person that they were after, who was responsible for the strike on Israel, also is the person who committed a strike on a military base that housed Marines, which, if I remember the numbers correctly, resulted in 243 Marines being killed and approximately half that number being injured. So this person already had a strike against them. A lot of things come into mind. We have people protesting on both sides, Palestinians and Israel, about what's going on in Israel and the actions and reactions that people are experiencing and reacting to. So, but as a person who has served in this country's military, specifically in the Marine Corps, I think that I have if I give a comment or two about it, it's based on how warfare has changed. You look at what Russia has done in the country of Ukraine as far as striking hospitals and civilian occupied buildings and things of this nature. And Ukraine, when given the opportunity, and take one example, took a half a ton of explosives and targeted a drone factory, a drone factory in Russia, but their target, even though there were workers and everything in the complex, was not where the workers were occupied, or not the area that the workers occupied. They just demolished the building where the drones were being manufactured. So in this case, with this strike with Israel, according to news reports and video clips and things of this nature, this building where this commander was present sat amongst other buildings. And according to one video clip, that a TV reporter on the scene was giving, there were shops and other things around it, buildings on both sides, but the building itself had collapsed. And to me, this is a tribute to modern warfare. There was one incident where Israel had sent a missile and hit a van that was occupied by UN workers that were tasked to help those people that were in need in food and supplies and things of this nature, which later came up to be that they had suspected they were transporting fighters. So Israel apologized for that. But the strike was so precise that it was just a hole in the roof of the van, big enough for a man to fit through, but the van itself did not explode. So the face of warfare has changed in that degree with each conflict that the United States is engaged in. You know, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, all the way through up to where we are now. So when the smoke clears and the dust settles, you have 2 dead. And since this article, which I'm about to share with you, was put out, Hamas has confirmed that the commander that the Israelis were after is dead. So just by the nature of the subject, I'm going to share it. ABC News. 2 dead, 20 injured after Israel targets senior Hezbollah commander in Beirut strike. 2 people are dead and 20 others were injured after Israel launched a strike on Beirut, the capital city of Lebanon, on Tuesday that targeted a senior Hezbollah commander as tensions along Israel's northern border continue to escalate. The strike hit a residential building in Harik, according to Lebanese Red Cross. Fawad Shakur, also known as Al-Haji Masin, was targeted in the strike, according to 3 security sources familiar with the operation. Shakur is a senior advisor on military affairs to Hassan Nasrallah, Secretary General of Hezbollah. He also had a $5 million reward for information leading to his capture via the U.S. government. The IDF claimed that Shakur was killed in the strike. The IDF targeted in Beirut the commander responsible for the murder of the children in Masjid al-Shams and killed many Israeli civilians. The Israel Defense Forces told ABC News in a statement. Hezbollah crossed the red line, Israel Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said on social media. Israel struck Dahia, a district in Beirut's southern suburbs that is a stronghold of militant group Hezbollah. 12 people, including children playing soccer, were killed in a strike on the Golden Heights over the weekend. Hezbollah denied responsibility, but both the U.S. and Israel have said the missile used in the attack came from a Hezbollah-controlled location. This attack was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah. White House National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson said in a statement Sunday. It was their rocket and it was launched from an area they control. It should be universally condemned. In recent days, Hezbollah said that any strike in Beirut would be met with a strong response of their own. Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Makita said the area struck was meters away from one of the largest hospitals in Lebanon and said they reserved the right to respond to Israel's attack. This criminal act that occurred tonight is a link in a series of aggressive operations that are claiming civilians in a clear and frank violation of international law and international humanitarian law, which is something we put in place for the international community, which must bear its responsibility and press with all force to oblige Israel to stop its aggression and threats and implement international resolutions, Bakati said Tuesday. The U.S. was given advance notice ahead of Israel's strike in Beirut, according to a U.S. official familiar with the matter. The message was communicated via security channels and limited operational detail was shared, the official said. It's still unclear whether the strike successfully eliminated its target, and assessments are ongoing, according to the U.S. official. U.S. State Department's Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel said earlier that the U.S. has been in continuous discussions with Israel and Lebanese counterparts since the weekend. The United States is going to continue to support efforts to reach a diplomatic solution along the blue line, Patel said. Our support for Israel's security is ironclad and it's unwavering, especially as it defends itself against Iran-backed threats, including threats from Hezbollah, Patel told reporters. So that's the information currently in regards to that, with the addition that the commander they were after was one of the two people that was killed in the strike. War is never good, and it's never pretty. In the last few days, since the latter part of last week, here in this country, there have been some changes on the face of politics. President Biden has stepped out of the campaign to be reelected as president and nominated his vice president, Kamala Harris, to take his place. So I wanted to kind of go over that because the tones, sometimes are like, people are not sure how to take it, or, we have plenty of news sources to draw information from, but still. So what kind of initiated all of that action and reaction was Biden's performance at the first debate with former President Trump. And there were comments about how he responded, whether or not his response was adequate. Since there was no fact checking in place for comments made by Trump, he just kind of let it fly, and on the fly made several comments that were not based in fact. Information that was available to me at the time was that President Biden was suffering from a cold, had problems with his voice, and was just not at his physical best for the debate, which came across with hesitant replies, short replies, mumbled replies. But as all of us know, if you have a cold and you have a hoarseness in your throat, you may be suffering from a runny nose, stuffed sinuses, whatever the conditions are, and you've taken medication to handle the symptoms, that you probably, even though you may be alert enough to function, that you're not at your best. So comments start coming forward about his age and whether or not he should pursue another term and how well would he perform, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So right on the heels of that, President Biden was diagnosed with COVID-19 and was diagnosed and treated. And with the medications that he was given, was also signed 5 days quarantine. And I think all this was like Thursday. So today's Wednesday. Tuesday might have been the last days of those 5 days of quarantine, which in itself, speaking of it in regards to his presidency, when Donald Trump was in office as president, there was little or no solution to the ongoing rise in cases of COVID-19. And even though he himself, Donald Trump, had been treated for COVID-19, it was like he didn't want to recognize it on the level of a pandemic and address it in regards to how to solve the ongoing rise in cases. When President Biden stepped into office, we received vaccines, primary shot and booster, 2 vaccines and 3 boosters. So what was originally diagnosed and treated with medications and 14 days of quarantine is now, and severe symptoms and possible death, is now being treated and diagnosed with a few medications and 5 days quarantine and mild symptoms. So that's one thing that we can give as a credit to the Biden administration. So, and just looking at, Biden out, Harris in, president's age, and we can take certain things and certain facts and fit them in no matter what the job title is or what the circumstances are, et cetera, et cetera. So, say your work years run from 20, well, you're allowed to retire with disability at age 55. You can retire early at age 62 and receive your Social Security benefits. But definitely at age 65, you can just bid to every worker fond farewell unless you just want to work at something. But, and it's not really a but, President Biden has served 52 years in political service or in the service of government service since his 30s, and he's now definitely 80. So instead of it being, get out of here, old man, life events, he did make a couple of runs at being president, but life events happened maybe not simultaneously, but near or close to the times when he was going to do that. The first one, when he had in mind to run for president, he lost his wife and children in a car accident. The next time, his son Bo was diagnosed, who was also had served in the military, with brain cancer. So this last bid, he was successful after being vice president for President Obama. So that's 52 years of service in the political, we don't want to say political arena, service in politics. And like I said, 65, you definitely can retire and say, well, yeah, I gave it everything that I was supposed to give it. And here he is, 80, still, active enough in a position as President of the United States, and he says that he will finish this term and that will be it. So it's not get out of here, old man, we don't need you anymore. It's like, thank you for your effort, pat on the back, attaboy, job well done. We don't think it's fair to ask any more of you after 15 years past the recognized retirement age, and you still are here active in a job position as President of the United States, which is an entirely different attitude than just, we don't need you, get out of here, you're messing up, that's enough for you. So now Harris is in at 59, which is 6 years to 65, and she's has service in the political spotlight in California as they say prosecutor. I take that to mean attorney general. Life events have taken her along as well, including some of the younger things that have come out in the news. At 29, being involved with another man, or with a man 60, which was part of her life's experience, and subsequently several other positions in California came after that, which this particular man of 60 years age did not facilitate or initiate, but definitely did support her being in that position. So now here she is today, married, and the man she is married to, and Trump has already attacked this, says she doesn't like Jews, and the two things don't fit together, and yet she's married to one. So after serving in California, joining the Senate, now she's been chosen as vice president for President Biden. Now, due to the fact that our laws allow him to step down, she would be the next person to step up. Nominations, endorsements, all the other stuff have flooded in thousands, but yet the Democratic National Convention is a few weeks off, and she has to pick a running mate for vice president to her bid for presidency. And I think that has to be done by like 20th or 21st of August, and tomorrow is August 1st. So the clock is ticking. So at least two candidates that were on that list have pulled their names out, and that leaves a few. There are a few that kind of rise to the top as a suggestion. And we will just wait and see what her final decision is on that matter. So, Biden out, Harris in. And we wait to see how all this plays out, with or without comments from Trump, former President Trump. The Olympics, how can we miss that? The United States, the last time on Monday, had 20 medals. And more information has come out to say that China has the most gold medals at 7, and I think the current number is 15 for them. But the United States has the most medals, and they're 5th on the list, with China being number 1 at 7, and they're 5th on the list with 5 gold medals. Overall, since the Olympics have been in place, the United States has accumulated 3,000 medals at the Olympic Games. Performances by Simone Biles and Team USA won gold at the women's gymnastics team final. And Simone Biles makes history at 2024 Paris Olympics with a 59.566 score during qualification. I'm not really a person that, I appreciate sports because, I like sports activities. I have my own special interests and things of this nature. But sports that I don't participate in or have not participated in, it's like I was trying to think of an example of how to convey it to somebody. And I kind of thought of it like this. You have a person, say a bricklayer. A bricklayer, you say, well, I want you to put a walkway here. And then you tell the bricklayer, I want you to build me a wall. Then you say, I want you to build me a wall here with a place to sit a window. Then you say, well, build me a fireplace. So all these things are different applications of the use of brick in construction. So that's kind of like how I look at the women's gymnastic team. The men's gymnastics team caught a bronze medal, and their performance just had my eyes wide open. But each member of the team has a skill, but they all can do the work. So this brings us to Simone Biles. She is just outstanding, excellent, has cut such a path that she even has certain techniques that only she is capable of performing and executing. So on that note, making history at 2024 Paris Olympics with a 59.566 score during qualification as follows. One of the big fan favorite events of the Summer Games is gymnastics. And the biggest star of the sport made history before she even earned a medal. How? Well, the legend only continues. Simone Biles makes history at the Paris Olympics with a 59.566 score during qualification, thanks in part to landing a vault no one else can do. Qualification was a bit scary for all of Team USA. There were some nerves, a few wobbles, some steps out of bounds, but in the end, the squad would band together to still put some performances together that would place the U.S. ladies at the top of the standings. Of course, those scores will all be wiped away, but it does show that the USA has a real opportunity to win team gold. And we know which individual events the ladies will also compete in. Simone Biles will be competing for a medal in 4 events, which is not surprising, even in complete pain and discomfort. She was leaps and bounds better than the competition. Therefore, you will be able to see her in vault, beam, floor, and all around. Teammate Jade Carey will fly high on vault. Suni Lee will get her a chance to medal doing the all-around as well, uneven bars and beam, while Jordan Childs will continue to wow crowds during the floor exercise. Simone fans got to scare their lives, though, when Biles suddenly left the competition area. She was rushed to the back and emerged with a part of her leg bandaged. Later on, it would be revealed that the athlete had suffered a calf injury, which is what made her dominance during every single event even more remarkable and astonishing. The official Olympic Games page gives this summary of Biles' stressful but incredible night. They state, with a stunning routine at Paris 2024, Simone Biles became a 3-time Olympian on Sunday. The 4-time gold medalist scored 59.566 in her women's artistic gymnastic qualifying session. There was a scare early on when she felt a little something in her calf, according to her coach. But Biles brushed that off to wow the crowd, which included parents Ron and Nellie, as well as Snoop Dogg, who sported an incredible Simone Biles t-shirt. A huge roar went up when she nailed the Biles 2, the Rodchenko double pike on the vault. She becomes the first woman to land it at the Olympics, earning a huge score of 15.800. With her high scores, she has advanced to Thursday's women's all-around final. Before that, Biles and her fellow Americans will aim for gold in Tuesday's women's final team, which we know they did win. Nice. It's great to see Simone Biles back in Olympic action, and you can't wait to see Team USA go for the gold. As we know, they did win the gold. Men's gymnastics took the bronze. And just for myself, I have, out of all the sports that the Olympics presents, rugby. All I've ever seen of rugby portrayed is a little huddle where they link arms and lean in and rock a little bit. This time I was able to watch a whole game, and it was the women's game. I never knew how the sport was played. I didn't know what it took to play the sport, equipment, or anything else like that. I was notably surprised and awed by the physicality of rugby. Anyway, women's rugby came away with a bronze medal. So that's just the long and short of Olympics. It was just not over until August the 11th. Games are still to be played. Men's basketball, 3-on-3, tennis, beach volleyball, indoor volleyball, baseball, I think, is being played. Even surfing is in this year's Olympic. Breakdancing, I think, is still yet to be presented. So it's going to be exciting. We speak in a country where so much is going on. We maybe be focused on what affects us personally, what affects us as a community, a neighborhood, our city. And we get off into this, it's my right, it's my right, it's my right. So what is the difference between a right and a privilege? So that's my privilege. We speak of white privilege. We speak of privilege for this and for that. So I thought, what really is the difference, between a right and a privilege? So here we go. Rights versus privileges. Rights are legally enforceable claims that are inherent and belong to all people equally. They cannot be taken away or altered by anyone, and they exist outside of government. Rights are often the result of laws such as constitutions, statutes, regulations, or judicial precedents. They can be invoked in courts of law and are recognized and honored by those with authority and power. A right is something that cannot be legally denied, such as the rights to free speech, press, religion, and raising a family. A privilege is something that can be given and taken away, and is considered to be a special advantage or opportunity that is available only to certain people. The right to life is considered the most important and first right urged by the European Convention on human rights, and it is a right granted to all persons, which makes it necessary in the system of basic human rights and freedoms that this convention works to protect and preserve. Freedom is not a privilege, it is a human right. The key difference between a right and a privilege is that a person that has a privilege is not simply free to do whatever he or she wants. In another uses, privileges have both an inferior status to and a less permanent existence than rights, being subject to revocation by the government or by authority. So, I just wanted to put that out there with so much going on. What we hold near and dear being affected. Food for thought. This is The Side Show. I'm Theodore Parker. Today is Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. That's it. Hashtag